So yeah, so just a couple of quick housekeeping things, and obviously I'm Ann, and Bill is in the room. He just isn't in the camera, but he's going to come say hello. That's Bill.
Hey everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, no problem. I'm excited. What did I do with my pen? Oh, there's my pen. So a couple quick things. We're going to use the order of this page that I sent you, and whether you printed it out or not or whatever, but that'll be the order that will go, since everybody shows up in a different order on the what do you call it? Gallery view. So you're seeing a different order than I'm seeing, but so we'll go in this order, and I think the thing that will work best is if we mute when you're not talking, just in case, like I have 3 kids and 2 dogs, and you know, things happen. So that's not to keep you from talking, but if you can do that, because we'll just kind of go around the table to talk about some different things. So how I wanted to do this is to go around the table to introduce everybody and kind of get on, like, let us know what you're working on and what your camp kind of topic is and where you stand in terms of virtual camps. Then we have some things that I want to talk about, and then some questions that have been sent in by some of you. So we'll go that way and just see where we go with it. So let's start off. I just was looking for you each to give your name, and part of what I did with this page, if you did print it out, is leave a little bit of space so you can write notes as we go around the table if you want to write anything about what each of us are saying. So your name, a brief description of the camps that you offer, and also let us know if you run day camps or residential camps. And then just a bit about where you stand right now with any kind of virtual offering, if you have already started doing that, or you're just in the thought process of that, or you're actually ready to launch something, or maybe you're already doing something. So so let's start with Nancy, and go ahead and let us know what you've been up to, Nancy.
Okay, well, I am at Waco Air Museum in Troy, Ohio, and we run 6 different camps that are either day camps or evening camps, but no residential camps. And ours are just a variety of STEM topics. We do a couple robotics camps, a couple drone camps, an aviation summer camp, and a young engineer camp. And the ages vary on those, anywhere between 3rd grade and high school, depending on which week it is. And usually by this point we're full. That hasn't happened because people have been reluctant and they don't know what's going to happen, and they're saving their money because they're out of work. So I'm sure you guys are probably in a similar situation. And we don't know when to launch anything. So obviously our dates at this point, all our June camps, we're looking at pushing back to July, which means kind of double stacking a day camp and an evening camp perhaps, because the calendar will get more crowded. But I had been on the call that Ann had referred us to about membership, and it made me think about virtual camp, and I just wanted to brainstorm with a bunch of you all and see if anybody else is planning on offering something like a kit that parents can pick up, and then doing either a Zoom call or a private Facebook Live for the kids. And I have seen in Troy, I just found out yesterday, that there is a, it is happening, somebody else is doing it successfully in Troy. they have the parents picking up the kit the day before. They're offering something like once a week, and they have the parent pick up the kit the day before, so they have time to prepare it, and then they are doing Zoom calls, and they're doing it for not a reduced cost at all. So I'm nowhere near launching ours. I would like to hope that we can do the real camp later in the summer, but I feel like I should be prepared for that. So I'm heading towards a path A, path B kind of scenario. And like I say, I'm not even sure how the kit prep is going to go, but I was just hoping maybe somebody has some other suggestions.
Awesome. Cool. So you are planning on kind of doing maybe a little bit of both, or you're just exploring different ideas, kind of?
Well, if we lose the ability to have July camps, I mean, I think we can push June to July and stack them. But if we end up having to lose the ability to have July camps, we will need to do an online sort of version.
Something or other. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
All right. So Lisa, and it's just ironic and coincidental that you are both in Troy, Ohio. Isn't that crazy? And that was, this is just in the order of you guys responded to me. So there you go. So Nancy, meet Lisa. Lisa, meet Nancy. You guys probably live next door to each other.
Can you hear me, Ann?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Oh, thank God. We were having technical issues at the start of the call, so I wasn't even
sure.
Oh,
okay.
So Nancy, I had a question for you, and you can type it in the chat if you want to, but what is your average attendance typically in each of your camps?
Sorry, I didn't type it in chat.
Okay.
We limit ourselves anyway to 24, and that was a question I was going to ask other people, because we're trying to decide, is there a chance we might be able to, because we're small camps, we're not 100 or 200, is there a chance that they might open us back up, and can we spread our kids out 6 feet apart? Or maybe we break that down. One consideration is breaking it down into 2 sessions of 12 and 12, or trying to spread those out. If we could, I think we could do 2 groups of 12s and spread the kids, keep the kids more distanced, is definitely a possibility.
What's the length of your camp, like your day camp? Is it a 2-hour camp, 3-hour?
Good question. It kind of depends on which one it is. Our aviation summer camp is a 6-hour, and our young engineer, it's for younger kids, so it's just a 4-hour, so 4 to 6 hours.
So
right.
my name is Lisa Bauer, and sorry.
Go ahead.
Nope. Go ahead.
No, I was asking you if you want to introduce what you do and what your plans are this summer. I know you've already started some things.
Yeah, and it's, so let me start by saying who I am. My name is Lisa Bauer, and I own the Mayflower Arts Center in downtown Troy. We're a visual arts and performing arts center that also still does movies, because we are in the old movie space downtown Troy. And Nancy, I may or may not be the person that you heard about that is doing the kit successfully. I don't know, because I know that Studio 14 also downtown are doing ceramic kits, and that is a pick-up, drop-off type situation that they're doing. But what this is going to be supposedly, hopefully, our 8th year of doing summer arts camps for kids. And usually by this time, early May, we are 80% full. And we are not even 20%. So we're seeing the same things that Nancy's seeing. People are not quite sure what summer has to hold, not sure if they have the finances. And I know on the flip side of that, there are parents that are ready to get rid of their kids and send them off to camp. So I think once we get the green light and things kind of loosen up a bit, we're going to get a deluge, hopefully, of people that want to sign up for camps. But it's just, too soon to tell. But our camps are typically 4-day camps that in the morning from 9 to noon, we meet with the 5 to 9-year-olds for 3 hours with a break in the middle of the day, in the middle of the camp. But those camps run 4 days. And in the afternoon, we do camps for ages 10 plus, also for 3 hours from 1 to 4 and for 4 days. And then we typically finish the camp week with an exhibit. Parents, grandparents, friends, family are invited in to see all the art projects that they do for the week. They're either theme-based for the younger kids or they're technical-based for the older kids. Like we'll have a sculpture camp for 1 week, paper mache camp, we'll have painting 1 week, that type of thing. So the thing that we're really kind of up against right now, what we've been doing since mid-March are running art classes and paint parties online with the premise that the parents come pick up the day before their art kit or their paint kit at the studio. We do curbside pickup, so they'll text me when they get there. I run out with their completed kit, and then we meet online in Zoom with anywhere from 8 to 12 kids, and then walk through the art project or the paint project together. It's been going really well. I'm trying not to overload myself because the prep time involved in making kits is tremendous. And we just are kind of right now thinking about art camps in the summer. Art camps are limited to no more than 12 kids, and we typically sell out every camp in the younger age, and we max about 75 to 80% in the older age kids. So we're kind of just waiting to see, since the number of kids are so small in the gathering, if we will be able to proceed in June. We start mid-June and go through mid-August, so we have 8 full weeks of camps that we offer for a total of like 20 to 24 altogether. So we're kind of waiting to see what the gathering criteria is going to be going forward. I would really rather not put kits together, because once we get into the summer art camp program, we do about 12 projects per camp, visual arts projects. So those get, I think, pretty intense. So if we do start to go virtual, we will have to scale those projects back a little bit. Not quite sure if we're going to reduce cost or just keep our cost at the early bird discount rate at this point. So once, today's May 1st, my plan is to, in the next 2 weeks, until we have more information from the governor, is figure out plan A, which is proceeding as normal in the studio, and then plan B, what does virtual look like? So it's going to involve a lot of brain power, a lot of sweat and tears, but once we get the go ahead either way, we'll be ready. So, but I think in order to be successful going forward virtually, we're going to have to scale back a little bit, either in the number of projects, obviously, or the type of projects, or yeah, so.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. I know Nancy asked you some questions too.
Parent was telling me about your Harry Potter class. Oh, we actually have one tonight, and we're doing, I don't know if you can see it, but this little prophecy ball that we have. So I have a bunch of wizards, young wizards, that the parents pick up our wizard art kits once a week, and we do a wizard party. So it's been fun, but it's intensive to try to put the kits together ahead of time. So
yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Did Kristen show up? I don't have Kristen, so we'll move on to Louisa.
Can I ask a question just a minute?
Oh, yeah.
Do you stay on the Zoom call for all 3 hours, or do you kind of give instructions and get off and let them do their thing and check back in with them? How do you do that?
So my paint parties are typically 90 minutes. So we stay on the whole time, 90 minutes. Usually their attention span is not longer than that, because we're dealing from anywhere from age 5 to age 13 or 14, 15. And we can typically get the project done in, anywhere from 65 to 90 minutes. But then as far as my preschool classes and my regular youth art classes, we're on for, again, we maximize the class time at 90 minutes. So if we can get it done between an hour and 90 minutes, we're good. But I do stay on with them and walk them through. We'll do an art history lesson. We'll follow up some work of the master artist, and then we'll create our own. But I have that project all planned out. It's all part of their weekly art kit. And then, I walk them through, and we stay together creating. And usually the parents are in the background kind of checking in every now and then.
So is it pretty quiet then? Like they're working and you're what is that time frame like?
It depends on the age group. The older class, the middler class, high school class, they're pretty chatty, and a lot of them know each other anyway. So I just kind of let them go and let them. But if I have to interject, I'll mute everybody, give an interjection, and then open it back up again. Because the fellowship, I think, is the biggest part for them, that they're missing that socialization. And it is for me as well. So I love to hear them kind of all looking at each other gallery style and talking to each other, showing each other their work and their progress. The preschoolers, it's all, it's a different. They don't do a lot of talking except for when they all log on at first, and they're all very curious to see everybody. They get real close to the camera and they tell me what they had for breakfast. And but the paint parties are a little different dynamic. I'm usually giving a little more instruction as we go, and then they'll interject every now and then with questions or so.
Thanks.
But it's not, we don't go 3 hours. The camps will be possibly 3 hours in the future. I mean, they are when we sit in the studio, they're 3-hour camps, but when we do online, neither them nor I have the attention span to go beyond 90 minutes.
Awesome. So Louisa, you are also art, yes? Also doing art. Okay, so what do you have going on?
So my name is Luisa. I work for YMM Art Space. We're an art school, a global school. We have schools in different, we have one school in California and around the world, Canada, China, and different places. But our school here, it's pretty small. We are a small group. We also keep our classes small so we can give individual attention to the students. We were actually located in Vienna, not like Alexandria. But we actually had to close that location because we had to close the building for the situation, and we were not using it at all. And the rent was really high. So we actually closed the location and we moved to Reston. So right now we're in the transition of reconditioning the new school. So even if the social distancing is lifted, we are not going to be able to do in-person camp. So we definitely are working online, and that's what we're going to offer. Even if we have to close them because all the other schools open, we're not going to be able to do in person. So hopefully by the fall, we're going to be able to open. So the way that we work, we teach, we do a spring semester, we do summer camps, and then we do a fall semester. And the kids usually during our semester, they come once a week, and we offer different art classes we start teaching at the age of 2 years old all the way to 16. We have classes for adults, and we have elective like comics, fashion, like different things that are more particular to other kids' interests. So for our semester, we had already transitioned to online classes because parents already paid for the classes for the full semester. Our semester is supposed to end in June, so we are already teaching online. Now, for those who are looking for ways to teach, what we are doing, we are actually using Google Classrooms, and it's working wonderful. The meetings are done in Google Meets. And in Google Meets, you don't have limitations on time. You can stay with them as long as you want to. We stay with the kids. Our classes are usually 1.5 hours, and we stay with the kids the full time. So what we do, we share our screen and we do a PowerPoint presentation. We talk about the pictures, the theme, we show them technique, and then the kids start working, and the teacher is working with them in the project, so we can kind of like help them if they don't know how to do a shading or blend colors. We're also showing them on our painting. Usually the projects, we don't do a step by step, so they work independently and that's something different, but at least we have something going on so they can have ideas of what to do. Right now we're working on our summer camps. I'm not 100% sure, but what I had planned, our camps are daily, they are weekly camps. They meet 9:30 to 3:30. We have two groups. We have one group that is 4 to 12, and then we have the teen camps. So right now, what we see with our younger kids is that they don't stay on the screen. Like, it's really hard for us to keep them engaged for an hour and a half that are our classes. So for the camps, what I'm thinking to do is to eliminate the 4 and 5 years old. So maybe having 6 to 9 and then 10 and up. Just because we haven't been able to get, and we don't want the parents to be sitting with the kids the whole week, because the parents have to be around. If they're using scissors, we don't want them to use scissors by themselves. An adult has to be around them. So for safety concerns, we're changing the ages. And what I'm planning to do, I'm not sure yet, and I want to hear everybody else's ideas, but what I'm thinking is for the younger groups, do maybe 10 to 12. Usually what we do is we do in the mornings individual projects, we break 1 hour for lunch, and then we do group projects in the afternoon. So all the afternoon, all the kids get together and we work on a big project. The Friday, the last day, we do the art show, just like Lisa does. So what I'm thinking is to do instead, I need 2 individual projects per day. And maybe reducing 2 hours in the morning, breaking for lunch, and 2 hours in the afternoon. And I'm also thinking on games that we can do online. Usually what we do, we start with icebreaker, we start the project, we break for a snack, and we do some sort of game. So there is a lot of social interaction on our camps. So I'm thinking about games, and I came up with a small list of things that we can do online, and the kids can still have that social interaction that is so important during camps. And then break for lunch, 2 hours in the afternoon with games in between. And for the older kids, we think that they can do maybe 3 hours. We were planning 2 hours in the morning, break for lunch, 3 hours in the afternoon. I did notice with my older kids, hour and a half is not enough. Like, we finish the call and they keep working. And because we're working with Google Classroom, then they send me a picture of the work and I give them feedback on the computer. So if they have any question or if they did something extra, I can tell them, what worked, what didn't work. So I think for older kids, we're not going to have issues. They are happy to stay online, just working and making art. But the younger one is the one that I have a little more of a concern. So yeah, I do have tips because we have already we're running our classes. I do have more questions about how to set up daily camps for a full week. We're not doing the pickup materials just because with the stay order, there was a lot of parents that were concerned that they were going to get in issues if the police stopped them and they're just going to pick up the supplies. So in that sense, what we're doing is that we have our lesson plans and we send them adaptations. So it's a painting class, but if you have markers, the teacher shows them how to kind of adapt to whatever they have. So the first class that we had, it was show me what you have. And all the teachers made lists of what the kids have at home. So we can prepare ahead and say, okay, instead of using glue, you're gonna tape like this. Instead of cutting, you're gonna rip, or, doing things to help them to use whatever they have at home.
Great. Wow, you're doing awesome stuff already. And you have an interesting challenge with the whole building and moving issue. So
it's been a lot.
Yeah. So just a question for those that have materials that the kids need to have. Have you looked into, and I think might work well for some, becoming an Amazon affiliate and offering, okay, cool, Lisa, like specific things that you recommend, and that way parents can, like you said, some of it they already have at home, or if there's something they don't, or some cool, palette that you really want them to consider or whatever. Lisa, you said yes?
Yeah, so I'm going the route of the Amazon affiliate, but the challenge that we're running into is the supplies change all the time. So you can put your recommendeds out there, and then the shipping is greatly delayed. So and then the cost is variable too now. So because of all these things in flux. So one thing that we try to do is plan far enough ahead that we can give them options. Like, if you can't get this on Amazon, here's a similar item you may be able to pick up at Walmart or pre-order from Joann's. So we're trying to give them options, but it takes a lot of planning and at least 2 weeks, a window of 2 weeks where they can try to get their supplies. So that's one of our definite challenges.
Okay.
One of the problems that we run into, because parents, the students that we have, they probably are being with us for a long time. Like, they are really, when they get in our school, they stay, because we teach all ages, so they stay with us for a long time. And they told us, like, if we cannot pick up, just we go and buy, and we run with the situation that at Amazon, the prices are crazy. Like, I try to buy things for my niece to participate in one of my classes, and it was like $80 for 2 canvases. It's insane. So like Lisa said, the best option is to send them like to Blick, to art stores, but then it takes a long time for them to deliver. So the supplies, it has become an issue for us with the whole movie, and we don't really have a storage, like to send acrylic paint to all the students, or to pick up, like, that's not doable for us. But we have been adapting the supplies, and that's working so far. We usually work in very complex projects, and we are not able to use all the supplies that we usually use in our classes. So that's one of the concerns that we have too.
Okay. All right, cool. Sounds great. Michael, you are next. Michael Knopf.
Yeah, Knopf. You said it perfectly. There you go.
Yeah,
Nobody ever says it
I have
perfectly.
friends,
So
their last name is Knauer. So
there you go. Okay, good. You got it then. You got it. Okay. Wow, am I an outlier? Frenchwoods Festival. It is we celebrate our 50th anniversary last summer. So we've been around for 50 years. We're a very large summer camp, residential. We run for 13 weeks total. We usually have about 800 kids at a time, about 500 staff at a time. So yeah, we're a different thing, I think, than you guys are. We're world famous for our programs in musical theater, in classical music, in circus, in magic. We do about 80 Broadway shows in those 13 weeks normally, in 5 theaters that are all on campus. So we're a whole different beast, I think, than you guys are. The whole situation, our initial response to the coronavirus and to the various shutdown is that we really felt bad for the kids. My own 8-year-old is sitting home going absolutely bat crazy, and we're like, we need to give our community something to, like spiritual, moral, happy support. And I don't know how. I'll sort of give you the genesis of the program and what we've done so far. But our first thought was we have this composition that was written for our 50th anniversary. It's a lovely little song. We orchestrated it for our orchestra. We ended up having about 150 of our alumni come up to camp for an evening. We had a 110-piece orchestra made up of our own orchestra plus about 15 members of the New York Pops and the New York Pops conductor, Stephen Reinecke. And we had a couple of Broadway stars come up, and we had this massive sing-along with this song that was written by one of our staff alumni campers, you know, so that was a cool thing. And we said, we'll take that and we'll do a crowdsourced online version of that. So we had the composer actually write separate tracks out. We provided sheet music online download. We provided click tracks. We did a live recording of a conductor conducting so that we could do, and we had about 130 or so submissions. And some of the kids danced. We set out a choreography track. We had here's the choreography for it. Some of the kids played classical instruments. Some of the kids juggled or twirled fire or did any, you know, we're a interesting bunch. So we got about 130 submissions for that, and it took us about a week and a half to edit them all into, and you may have seen one of these. I gave Ann a link to our online page of content. Maybe I'll post that in the notes in a little bit, and you can all go watch it. It's one of those things where, you know, you see it cuts from individual to individual, and then it shows, you know, 32 boxes on screen with all these people singing at once. And of course, they're camp personalities, and some of them have some fame, and some of them have some recognition. And so we made that, and we said that was great, but we don't want to ever do that again because, you know, it's a massive amount of work. Took about a dozen of our staff, you know, at least a week and a half to put together. Very cool thing that we did. We said, okay, that was start one. Now what else can we do sort of to entertain the kids that are home and give them something? So I think the next thing we did was a magic trick of the day. It's one of our most popular activities. We have a magician. At camp, we give you the stuff to do the trick. So you go into the class, you get the stuff to do the trick, and then you spend a little time learning the trick, and then you run off and show people the trick. It's a pretty awesome thing. The tricks usually cost, you know, it's a deck of cards, or it's a ball and cups, or it's whatever. They cost, you know, $3 or $4 per individual trick, sometimes less. And that broke our Zoom because we had we were working on the free Zoom. We had, you know, a room for 100 participants. We had 180 people try to get on, and they were all flipping out that they couldn't get in. So we upgraded to the professional Zoom, and we now can do 500 participants at a time. We have not yet broken the 500 number, but we've got into the solidly into 300 number. So we've done the magic trick. We've done a sing-along with a pianist. We've done some of the silly camp games that we already play, Name That Tune game, and we call it Brain Wars. It's, you know, a silly trivia quiz game. We have done a couple cooking shows. I did one myself because our head of cooking bailed out at the last moment. So, you know, so I got to do a cooking show. It was actually really interesting because one of the things that Zoom is letting, and we're primarily using Zoom. I think there are probably other tools out there, but we started with Zooms. And I had 3 cameras. So I had a camera on a stand, and I had a camera that was being held by another individual, and a second camera. And then I had a person remotely, you know, from another place controlling Zoom and cutting from camera to camera to camera. And it really felt like a 3-camera kind of sitcom shoot. It was, by the time it's online, you can, you know, I'll give you the URL, you can watch it. Sadly, mine didn't record very well, so it's not online. You can't see me do it, but you can see what it is. But they're, you know, we have the ability to put pretty tight presentations together, and we had kids, you know, actually stay with us the whole you know, when you do baking, you do a magic oven. Are you all familiar with magic ovens? Right, so you pre-bake one so you can pull it out of the oven, saying this is what it looks like 2 seconds after you put it in. So we did that, but then we after the end, you know, a bunch of kids went actually put what they had done on camera and said, did I do this right, or did I having this problem? So, you know, as opposed to a cooking sort of TV show, it was interactive, and the kids could say, well, how do you do that, or did mine come out right, or, you know, that kind of stuff. So we've got some programming that's going on. We've been doing about 1 a day. Monday we have Jason Robert Brown, who's a Tony Award winning composer, and David Stone, who is a producer of Wicked and Spelling Bee, a couple things, and Ira Mont, who's a very functional, you know, he's always stage managing one of the theaters on Broadway, and Michael Cosnerin, who is Disney's musical supervisor for all musical shows and the animated series. So, and we're doing a panel discussion with, what's it like to be behind the scenes. We've done a musical theater dance class where we did the original choreography for the prom. So we're doing some high level stuff. We're actually struggling more with the low level stuff. What do we do for the 8-year-olds? But for the higher kids, and some of our 8-year-olds are dancing at that level. So it's not really too hard for them. But we've done some college prep stuff because we have a college prep program with especially focused on those, like getting into the art schools and getting into the the musical theater colleges. So we do audition techniques. We have an audition sort of walkthrough for our little ones, and we're coming up with all kinds of, like, what else can we do online? I mean, can we do chainmail? We can probably do chainmail classes online. Can we do, we haven't tried a painting yet, mostly because we're sort of working with the staff that we have. We have a magician who's on our full-time payroll. So, so the ones that are on, and our head of dance and our head of theater are doing things, and we're doing these things. Because we run our session normally starts June 8th. So we start really early. We do 4 3-week-long sessions, with changes in between. And we have already forced to close our first session. So we've tried to move all the participants in the first 3 weeks into the other 3 weeks. But we're also trying to give all the parents, and part of what we're trying to do is make them think of us, make them remember us, and give those people who are not at camp and can't come to camp, or something in lieu of that. Originally, I thought was, let's keep them around so they come back next year. Let's keep them engaged, but we are starting to consider that it could be possible that we cannot run a physical camp, especially given that there's no way in hell French Woods can keep people 6 feet apart, and we have 1,500 people in our dining room at one time, and there's no way you can do circus, without touching one another. There's no way you can play a trombone with a face mask on. They're just too much of what we do isn't even remotely possible. But then we have a lot of talent, and our staff is almost 500 staff people. So we have some incredibly qualified, incredibly skilled people who can produce and some of them are already doing so. We have a couple professors at BOCO and other musical theater schools that are already doing online classes, and so they can pretty much use the same content they're doing and deliver it for us as well. So we have, I think that our high-end content is easy and the low-end content is harder, but we're doing we've got scheduled for next week a Zoom with your pet, and we're all going to introduce our pets to one another, and how much fun is that, right? I know, interesting enough, one of the other camps that is big and is performing arts like us is Interlochen, and what they're doing is they actually are having a 45-minute bunk sessions, with the counselor, and all the people who live in the bunk are spending some time together just on Zoom as a regular sort of social chat. And I found that interesting. So we're interested in, what's out there, and then how do we turn if our choice is not to run camp, how much can we charge for online camp? How do we monetize what we're doing already? I think it is Interlochen that's charging about $3,000 for a 3-week session where they meet for 3 hours a day, 3 1-hour daily sessions, and an optional 45-minute social thing in the evening. And I don't know if our parents will pay that. Our normal tuition is about $6,000 for a 3-week session. So just to give you guys where we are sort of in that world, but we also provide some, really, I think French Woods offers things that nobody else can. In some contexts, we have a few other camps out there that do some of what we do, but I think we're the only camp that puts on a Broadway show with a full orchestra, where the orchestra is kids and the show is kids and the people running the lights are kids, so you know, I don't think anybody else quite matches us in that context. So that's French Woods and what we're thinking, you know, and we put some stuff up. Let me see if I can just get my, it's harder to do this on an iPad than it is on a computer, but I think I can get to the chat window somewhere.
And you know, and Michael, I'll do a follow-up email, and I'm also
Perfect. Yeah, if you'd share that.
Yeah, I'll share
Yeah.
those, and if you send me any other links that you want to share.
Well, what we did is we made a page on our homepage. So, you know, like third link down
okay.
is we're doing online stuff, and click here to see all the archive videos. So all the archive videos, or the archive videos that came out well, sorry, are online. And if you look at our, you know, I'll share with you our Instagram and our Facebook. If you look at either of those things, you know, yeah, it's small world. If you look at the Instagram and the Facebook, you'll see all the graphics that we're using to do that.
Cool.
So your questions on how to sing along work on Zoom, they work poorly. But you know, but sometimes the joy of the sing along is not really entirely how it sounds, but how much fun it is to participate in. So you know, we are thinking about actually, you know, paying an editor to do these kind of things. And actually, one of the head of our music program is working with the Philadelphia Young People's Orchestra, and they did an edited combination, one of those things where each member of the orchestra was playing from home, and he was conducting, and they did a really beautiful version of, you know, compositing it together. But again, this takes, you know,
Lots of time.
Yeah. And lots of skills, and you know, somebody's got to have a high-powered video editing machine with, you know, some very expensive software, and know what they're doing, you know, to pull off. But we are thinking, you know, normally the highlight of our sessions are at the end, where somewhere around 5,000 parents will come on camp and will sit in, you know, theater shows and music concerts and rock concerts and circus shows and magic shows and see their kids what they have done. And even if we're running, I don't think we're allowing 6,000 parents on camp, or that we'll be allowed to allow 6,000 parents on camp, unless somebody comes up with a miracle of some sort for curing this, or, you know. And given that, we're saying, well, can we produce something, you know, where we can have a final video of the thing that they've done, you know, and we haven't come up with a thing that is going to be possible in terms of a theatrical experience, but possibly one of these orchestral experiences or one of these group singing experience or something like that could happen, and could be a thing where we actually did edit them all together and gave them that thing. So there we are. That's my very long spiel about all the things we're doing. I've learned a lot. There are things I know. But I think more than the practical is the question of, you know, can we convince our parents that, you know, in lieu of paying for French Woods, in lieu of demanding a refund, you know, can we move them into an online program? And then how do we make our online program worth, you know, even half of what they pay willingly for our, you know, we're not feeding them, we're not housing them, we're not, you know, we're not supplying all of the supplies. And we, you know, my chainmail budge, I think I spend about $40,000 in a normal year in little metal rings to do chainmail with. You know, just one art supply, you know, not to talk about, you know, what the painting supplies cost, or what the ceramics supplies cost, or what the leather craft supplies cost. So, you know, we're a massive, you know, undertaking that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've had some success with the cooking, but we've tried to sort of make it very simple. These are ingredients most people have around the house, and not doing anything strange, you know. I was going to try to do something like, you know, something more exciting, a full-scale French tart with, you know, 3 layers of filling, and, you know, because we have some kids, you know, one of our campers won the Master Chef Junior, so some of our kids are doing, you know, like they're doing high level stuff, you know. And French Woods, it doesn't exist, you know, as a we exist because of those high end things. So it's a question of how do we get that stuff to work.
All right.
All right.
Well, cool. Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
Wow, you have a big a big challenge with this craziness.
I think we might be
Like,
different than what some of you
yeah,
are doing, you know.
but someone who's kind of dealing with similar concerns on a much smaller scale. Anne is next, and also doing music, chorus music, and you and I, Anne, chatted a bit by email about your concerns. And why don't you go ahead and explain what you're doing and what you've been trying so far and all that.
Okay, we are a small nonprofit tuition auditioned community choir program. We're very small. Currently, we have about 30 singers for a season. And we have kids that come in. We have 3 levels of choirs. Kids come in to the training choir upbeat, and they bond, and they, they're trying it at those levels, but our goal is to get them to bond with the other singers and to stay. And we have several kids who've stayed for many years. I have one right now that's her 9th year, and another one that's her 10th year. So, they stay with us for a very long time, and their families have too. So when this all first started, I was actually at a conference in Mobile, Alabama. And on Tuesday, I flew down, and, everybody was in a happy mood. And I met all my colleagues in the airport in Atlanta, and we went on down to Mobile. And then that was Tuesday. And there was a little talk about some things. And there was a little bottle of hand sanitizer in the packets. And it said, well, and it's social distance a little because this stuff hasn't quite made it around the country, but it's where you need to be wise. And by Wednesday afternoon, the whole world changed. The collegiate people were all like, oh gosh, we've got to close and do spring break another week so we can get virtual learning ready. By Thursday, the church building that we rehearse in all closed. And I flew home and they shortened the conference by a day. I flew home on a Saturday, and I have never been so appreciative of getting back to Greensboro Airport and literally wanted to kiss the ground because it just became so scary. So there was a lot of talk, though, the last couple of days about how do we do this. And a lot of the collegiate people do online for music theory and other things. So they gave us some things to go with. And I'm very connected through the American Choral Directors Association, have a lot of colleagues all over the country, and we've been meeting by Zoom as to what do we do. And the music educators in the classrooms had to come up with something really fast, and they tried many things, Flipgrid, Google Classroom, those things, and some of those are working well. So we tried to do those things, but it's just impossible to sing together. We sing together. That's what we do. It's not a solo. It's not a voice lesson. It's not a theory lesson. We sing together. So that's been the hardest part. So after our advice from our highest leaders were give people time to settle down and take care of their own families and to get supplies and to hunker down and to get used to the online school stuff. And so we did that ourselves. And then we started having the Zoom meetings and just kind of, trial and error. And so we're just going to try this. And we've had, I guess, about 75% of our families to buy into this pretty well. We have some on the fringes, and part it's because parents' schedules, some of them are medical, things like that. We have Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center down the street. We have some kids who, they say it's just really weird to try to sing when you're by yourself, and I don't want my parents hearing me sing. So we tried to do some singing at first, have them muted. I'll play a recording track of something I found online or on YouTube. We'll look at our music. We'll talk about music theory, solfege, other things. But we've gotten away from that the last couple of times with just trying to stay connected. Let's stay connected. We've had a hat day. We've had wear your chorus t-shirt day. They've shared memes. We've had a meme contest about the choir. We've had mass singer video. Some of them really got into that, even with our training choir babies, which are so cute. They're so cute online because they have to show us all their dogs and trampolines and everything. That we just cry. We cry together because we miss each other. And my daughter is my assistant. She's very helpful with you know, what's really what online, and can help me with some little games and things like that to keep them engaged. Last week we had one of our favorite composers, who's a personal friend of mine from Westminster Choir College, to come and join us, and that was really great. And we're like, oh wow, we need to do more of that. So this week we had a composer to join us who was our 20th anniversary commission last year that we premiered at the gala for our 20th anniversary. So he came on, and it happened to be exactly 1 year to the day of when we premiered that. So that was very special. And so we're going to do more things like that, and have some former singers who've gone on with their singing and careers to come and join us, some other composers, just things like that. But if nothing else, just to stay engaged and keep them together. And we're going to have some sort of end of the year gathering on Zoom, and kind of go from there. We have our tour was canceled to New Orleans. It was the third week of June, Crescent City Festival. But we're going to get most of the money back from that. We're so tiny. We don't have any income right now. It's usually when all of our auditions start, and most of the auditions come in this time of year that we sign up for next year, as well as kids paying the tuition, the registration for next year. So I've just held that off until I know a little more, and trying to prepare myself for what's next. I think we're still in grieving process. We're still grieving. And I guess, in the arts community, we hold ourselves to an incredibly high standard. It's our moral compass, and children's choir world is extremely unique niche. It's very small, but our standards are very high. And to do something on Zoom is just nothing compared to what we really are. So we're trying to figure out how to do our summer day camp, which we do, called Summer Sing. It will be the 19th year of Summer Sing in August. It's usually the first week of August. And I may try to push that out for a couple of weeks at the church building, and just cross my fingers that we can have it. We normally have around 25 kids. And it's small, but sometimes we split up into 2 or 3 levels of kids, because we also have like a handbell rotation, a Dow Crosby Rhythmics creative movement rotation, things like that. So how would we do it online? I don't know. We can't sing, not together and not well. It could be that we get together and they order some music online that we introduce, and we just do parts. I can do breakout rooms. The accompanist can go in another room, all of that. I even thought about maybe working on an opera. There's the Hansel and Gretel that has more solo work, or we can just do opera workshop one-on-one, where they learn how to, here's your props, here's your dialogue you need to sing, make it up, and then record and share. Our camp is usually from 9 to 12:45 in the mornings. We have a snack time. We pack a lot in. We usually sing and perform for the respite care seniors at our church building. We give a big sharing concert on Friday afternoon, like you all are talking about. You have a sharing time to present all that they've done. And so I'm thinking, if we do it, I really like, Louisa was talking about the smaller groups, and I really like the idea of the possibility of that. We could do one group from, say, 9 to 10:30 online, in person, and therefore we can spread them out in the choir room 8 feet apart and have them wear a mask. The big thing I've been hearing about, and I'm going to another Zoom meeting next week, is how the breath, the particles of COVID could be spread through the breath. So that's a concern. And like you say, the brass players, they can't play with a mask, but we could possibly sing with a mask if we were forced to do that. And if we spread out and limited it to like 12 people in each, that's the thing to think of, to have it later in the fall. And to do that is one of our biggest recruiting tools. Summer Sing is our favorite week of the year. It's our biggest recruiting tool. Kids from the community come, they bond with our current kids. Since our current kids also come, we get to a high level really fast. And so, then they'll audition on Thursday afternoon, and we just segue right in, you know, in a couple of weeks when school starts. So that's pretty much where I am. And so I really appreciate letting me vent last night on that email, and because we're just so frustrated. And there was a post from Martha Shaw from Spivey Hall in Atlanta, and she was like, to my fellow choral colleagues, this is a time to grieve. Allow yourself to do that and let it go, and that there will be a time for us, and the world will need us even more. So that's what I'm hanging on to.
Yes, man, I agree about the grief. It's amazing. I've thought so many times about how weird it is that, you know, grief is a process that has a lot of different stages to it. And the really weird thing is that we're all grieving a lot of things, you know, in your own life. There's more than just one thing. Usually when we deal with grief, it's one thing, you know, you've lost a loved one, or, you know, and with this, we're grieving many things, and everyone literally in the world is grieving many things. And so we have those feelings, and then all of our, you know, your customer, your kids and the parents and the people in your community, and everyone is feeling the same thing. I mean, the same thing in different ways, but, you know, and imagine being in any one of those stages of grief for any one of the things that you're grieving about. And, you know, it's hard, very hard, but, you know, I think sticking with it, and, you know, I think already you're talking about some ideas that could work in ways that might not, obviously it's not going to be at all the same thing, but, you know, some way, just as I said in my email, some way to envision how your business looks at the end of this, how your business looks in the fall, and how your business looks next year. So I also wanted to mention that I go to Westminster Presbyterian Church in Dayton, Ohio, which is where Westminster Bible College started. Literally in the classrooms that we have, our church classrooms, is where they started. And they were coming this summer to Westminster Church, the whole choir, to come and perform. So we're missing that. But
I think Ann is completely right in terms of, you know, recognizing that there's no way you can do chorus over video. In some ways, WhatsApp is a little bit better than Zoom for syncing audio. My son is doing cello lessons online, or we moved his private cello lessons to an online thing, and it sort of mostly kind of works, but that's one-on-one, and you could probably do voice lessons one-on-one online. But doing chorus online, I don't think you can. So I think you're right in saying we're going to work on spirit and community and togetherness, and that is the thing of value that we can still offer. If we can offer, you know, the artistic pursuit that we're offering, and I think maybe some combination of that. If you could do, you know, one-on-one voice coachings with your participants, not necessarily every day, but, you know, like, you know, once a week, something like that, so that they have something to look forward to. You know, when we get back together, now you're going to be able to sing better. You're going to have this mastery that you didn't have, and our group work is going to be better for it. So maybe that is a way to approach not being able to do the group work, is do a little more of the coaching work, because I know that it's also hard when you're, you know, I was in 3 boys choirs at once when I was a soprano, and obviously I'm not a soprano any longer, but, you know, one of the things that's difficult to do when you've got 30 kids singing is coach one of them, you know. So maybe take the blessing where it is. I think silver linings is something we all have to start really sort of picking out the ones we can say and say, there, you know.
yeah, and, you know, Lisa just pointed out something which was on my mind, which is it possible to find some space where you could do some things outside and get more distance and be in an outdoor, setting where the social distancing might be able to be a little more flexible. And the other thing
Something
that
like a flash mob,
Yeah, right. The other thing I thought of is in these smaller, kind of more community-based things, to maybe challenge the kids that already are coming to encourage a friend to log on as well, so that where you're missing out on your big recruiting events, maybe just those community things become recruiting events for kids and their friends. And kids, we do a lot of parent surveys to find out what parents are thinking and what their kids are thinking, and kids really would rather go to a camp with a friend. Even though they might not actually tell you that, they would much prefer to have a friend with them. So getting them to bring a friend to a live, any kind of a live gathering. Not live, this kind of live, that is an open place where they can bring a friend, might be a good recruiting thing for you for this next semester. So.
Another thing that I was thinking about, and that's from the Stu's videos and information that made a lot of sense, and that is story. To have the kids, especially the ones that have been in for quite a while, and just choir is one of their passions, is to just video themselves and their story a little, a certain time limit, 2 minutes or whatever, of how they got started in the choir, what they like about the choir, how they bonded with friends and their choral music, festival experiences or traveling somewhere to sing, and then have that available on our website too.
Yes, and I think that there's a lot of stuff that we will all do that's different than what we would have ever normally done, but something that maybe ends up just being a really an excellent new thing that you might even incorporate permanently,
Right.
So, all right. Unfortunately, I guess Adam needed to sign off, so that's too bad. I was looking forward to hearing more about Odyssey Teen Camp, but hopefully I can pick him up in a different meeting. Eden, Taste Buds Kitchen. Hello.
Hello there.
Thank you for your patience, and tell us about what you do.
Absolutely, and I will try to be quick because I know we have some overlapping shared experiences and some not, so it's been great to get some different insights from everybody. So I do all hands-on cooking events. We serve clients of all ages, age 2 all the way through adults, but specifically summer camp is our busiest season of the year. Or usually is. So we're all in the same boat, facing a lot of uncertainty moving forward. So we have already put together some camp options. We start camp the week of Memorial Day. So the 25th is our first camp week. And we are, being in Texas, we are already in the reopening process. And so we are going to be following the CDC's daycare guidelines, and so we will be cooking in person. However, given the consumer confidence side of things, we know that not everybody, at least right away, will be comfortable and confident coming in person, and so we are going to be offering an online version as well. So our camps are divided into 3 different groups just by age, and obviously what we do is very technical and age and developmental stages are important as we plan for that. We are going to be doing shorter time frames. So in the kitchen it's 3 hours, but online we're going to do an hour and a half for our youngest group, which is the 4 to 8 group, and then the 9 to 13 will be 2 hours, and then our teens, the 14 and up, will also be 2 hours. We're going to pack a lot in, so we are trying to create a video for our parents, just encouraging them, because we understand it's a lot of extra work for those of us who are parents. It's tough managing what we have to do and then what the kids have to do. So really trying to encourage them to invest that time to prepare and enjoy it with their child, as opposed to, all right, here's what you have to do. Now go now, leave me alone. I'll be over here. But really, connect in a different way. So especially for the younger ones. The older ones, we anticipate they'll be able to cook independently with the content that we put together. So with that, in that time frame, somebody asked a question earlier about, are we leaving them and then coming back once a part of it is done and all of that. So we're going to cook straight through that time frame, but then at the end, we'll leave them to finish. We'll all have pre-made versions of all the recipes we're doing, so that way they can see the process start to finish. So as we wrap up, they'll probably have another 20 minutes of work to do independently, but that gives them a little bit flexibility. And then we will be discounting, and so we are sitting right at about 60% of what we would charge for in-person camp, with the option to purchase an ingredient kit in addition that they would pick up from us. We love this idea because number one, people can't find ingredients at the grocery store. And number two, we love to be able to, see them even waving through the window as they pick up the kit, and then being able to see those same faces online. So, it's a well-rounded experience and we can connect, and so it's not a separated, because, cooking together is very emotional and positive, and, we really want to do all that we can to continue that. So, and it will be live via Zoom. We have been teaching some online classes. We rolled out pretty early on a free at-home cooking club. So twice a week, we do a pre-recorded video. We send out the ingredients and tools that they need ahead of time. And that's been fantastic for us. And it gives them the flexibility. They can do it whenever they want. But these will be live via Zoom. And much like what Michael said, a couple different camera angles, so that way they can see working with hands, they can see, the ingredients, they can see our faces. So that way, serve all the different learning styles and what they need to see. Interestingly, over the last couple of days, we put a survey out there to our clients on what they are wanting to do, whether they're looking for camps online, in person, or not at all. 73% replied with in person, and 21% online, and then, that's a very small percentage, nothing. So I was kind of surprised by that, especially with the timing and where we are, but I'm encouraged that hopefully all of us will be able to get back to in person. So even if we can put something together online to bridge that gap, will be really, really a good deal. And so, yeah, since we start pretty quick, we're just going to put a couple weeks out there and then add week by week as needed, but hopefully phase everybody back into in person as we see what happens. Today is our first day of retail and restaurant being reopened at 25% capacity. And our classes are small compared to what our facility can hold, so that's not really even a concern for us when we're back to 100%. So yeah, it'll be really telling in the next couple of weeks what happens around here. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for us.
Awesome. Wow, that sounds great. And so you're saying you do have free things that are pre-recorded, and then for everything that you're doing for a fee, you're doing live, and you're charging 60% of what you would have charged.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Eden.
Thank you.
And
I have a question for you. Are you also providing, post video, recordings of those classes, or are you only doing them live?
We're only doing them live. We've really considered all aspects of that, but because there is that just level of connection and engagement, as well as we don't want to share our proprietary things that can be out there.
Right.
What we do, that's kind of falls into that. But yeah, we're really encouraged that people will be wanting to, join in. And I mean, in addition to the supporting small business efforts, I think they'll come to find that it'll be really nicely well-rounded, so we can, pick up the ingredients, connect there, connect online, and then that's it. And we hope you sign up for another week. So
are you looking at those ingredients kits as a revenue stream as well?
Very, very little. Obviously the labor that goes into putting them together is, you know, the majority of it, but really more as a convenience, just because, I mean, our groceries still have no flour and
Right.
no yeast and, you know, things like that. So
I
just
got
more,
a 20-pound bag of bread yeast. I was bread flour. I was very
yeah,
excited.
yeah, exactly.
I do have a comment. When we transition, because we have our semester that is supposed to finish in June, we had to do like really quick switch from in-person classes to online classes to be able to continue what the parents already paid for. Our parents didn't want to take the online classes. They wanted a refund. And of course, that put us in a really difficult position. So what I came up with, that's why I created Google Classroom, so the kids have that classroom and social environment and everything stays safe there. And they can chat with me at any point. My selling point for the online classes was the recording. So what I do, I record our classes and I post them in the Google Classroom. So it's kind of like private and it's understood that they are not allowed to share that. But the idea was that if a kid had to leave, because we do have our little kids, sometimes they have tantrums because they wanted to talk and somebody talked before and we couldn't hear them. So they're like, but I asked a question, and they start crying. So parents have to remove them from the video. And then the idea is that they can watch the video later and catch up if they miss a step or if they didn't know how to do it, they can play the video and work on their own. Or, you know, like if they have to eat or they get tired, whatever, if they need to leave, they have the option to leave the classroom at any point and later they can catch up. So,
yeah, that's a really good point. And I think, you know, depending on the type of camp, I love that flexibility built in for us. You know, where ours are a little bit more premium price because it is really technical. We're teaching them a lot of excellent culinary fundamentals and, you know, life skills along the way, enforcing all of the academic things as well. So kind of like Michael with the level of investment also comes along, you know, we tell our parents and our kiddos cooking is a privilege. And so if you're not able to, or your child is not able to, or you are not, you know, depending on the age of the kiddo, participate and stay engaged, then that's okay. Then we'll just ask that you go ahead and leave. And, you know, we don't personally accommodate that. And so, you know, I think it just kind of depends on what your type of camp is, because it affects the experience for everybody. And, you know, for us, parents who are investing their time and money into the camp is, in our situation, you know, we expect that they get that full value. And so, you know, but again, not saying it's right or wrong, I think just a different camp. So I think that's fantastic for you, Louisa, to be able to offer that as an option. But I would never tell anybody to shy away from setting some strong boundaries with your clients because they'll appreciate that, the experience that they'll get. So
Can you share what your price structure looks like?
yeah, so in the kitchen, for a full week camp, we are up to, our highest is 300, and it's 275 for our younger group, and that's for a 3-hour camp, Monday through Friday. You know, comparatively in our market, anywhere from 150 to, I mean, maybe 200, so we're quite a bit more. But, you know, we've got one chef instructor for every 6 kids, so that's really a lot of one-on-one instruction. It's all hands-on, so it's not as any kiddos are going to be standing and watching. I mean, they're all working the entire time, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Eden. All great ideas. And David, no, Jillian, let's see, of Catalyst Farm. You know, am I missing? Where is Abigail?
She's down the bottom.
Still here.
Oh, she's gonna do it. Okay, all right. Abigail, we're almost there. Jillian, and this is Catalyst Farm. Tell us about what Catalyst Farm does.
Okay, so Catalyst Farm is a farm-based therapy program. We offer OT, PT, speech, and counseling. And then we have the summer camp in the summer, which is run by our therapy team. So our patients are all ages, but the summer camp is a cognitive age of 3 to 10. So with a cognitive age, I mean, we may have like a 15-year-old, participating. We're doing a little bit of some telehealth right now, but all the schools are offering telehealth for their students. So not all the parents are participating in that. So we're just kind of still getting our feet wet with the telehealth model. So I've been trying to figure out, and obviously a large part of our model is the ability to interact with the animals and the farm setting. And also because of our population, there's just, it would be, I think, probably impossible to maintain any kind of social distancing. I mean, it's going to be hard with any young children, but you add in children who have impulse control deficits, and it wouldn't work. We have a 1-to-1 ratio of staff or volunteers per camper. So really, I mean, I keep joking that we would have to have parents sign a form saying that we are allowed to keep their child on a leash or tackle them to keep them out of other people's space bubbles. It's just not going to work. So if social distancing is lifted, then that's the only way camp is going to be happening here on site. I've already canceled the June camps. I anticipate July and August will not be happening, but I'm trying to not have parents lose all hope and give them a chance at being able to have the camps later. So I've been trying to figure out how to, incorporate any kind of virtual thing with this type of population. You guys have actually given me some really good suggestions that I'd be able to implement, but keeping their attention is going to be hard. Socialization is going to be hard if it's a group, because it's hard enough for them to socialize together. We have a lot of our kids have autism. Some of them have Down syndrome. Some of them are nonverbal. So even just like the social aspect of it, it's not going to be a clear path to socializing via a virtual camp. So I'm just kind of hoping to try to get some different ideas of things I can do to offer some sort of value. We do usually sell out. We have it's very small camp just for the safety of the kids, so that we make sure they're not running around, into the horse pastures or something. So it is small. We usually do sell out and have a waiting list. This year we have 1 week sold out in July, and the rest, I think the same as you guys. People are kind of waiting to see, and they're not really wanting to sign up. So I'm not even sure really what the interest will be. But with this population especially, parents are desperate to find something for their kids to do. You put a child with autism out of their routine, stuck in a home all the time. I mean, it's rough for them. So I'd like to be able to offer something to provide them with a little bit of respite. So one of the questions I had was, I know you guys talked about reducing the fee, which I definitely plan to do, mostly because the parents are going to be so hands-on in whatever activities we're doing. I mean, they're essentially going to become a camp counselor. But for the kits and things that you're putting together, or if you have them purchase supplies, are you accounting for that in the discounted price for the camp? Or is it like, we discounted the camp already, you're on your own for the supplies? Or how is that working for you guys? Anyone?
We haven't addressed that at all.
Okay.
But traditionally French Woods has supplied everything.
Yeah.
And and we don't differentiate. So like if you're doing jewelry and we're spending lots of money on significant things, we don't change. And our program is individual choice. So we have about 90 different daily activities, and the kids can pick them. And we don't charge extra for horseback riding, and we don't charge extra for, in one-on-one music lessons. We just do those things. So it's a big part of our value proposition, I think.
Yeah.
But we've tried to just not everything we've done so far has not required anything specific. We've been very flexible, you know,
Okay.
where we're doing like a recipe, cooking recipe, we've deliberately been picking things like, you know, let's do something without flour because flour is hard to get, you know, everybody's going to have butter, everybody's going to have, you know, so we've been, you know, picking and choosing what we're doing by, you know, sort of that mental arithmetic of what might be on hand that they
Yeah.
won't have to get, you know, like, so how much can you do, saying everybody's got a bucket, everybody's got, you know, everybody's got one of these, you know, so let's do things with those. And there are resources online with, you know, activities you can do with very simple, you know, materials and
Stuff.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what we've been trying to do, you know, so if we get more advanced with that, we are going to have to start saying, you know, but like, we can do an embroidery class with a needle and thread, and you have a needle and thread, and most people can come up with a needle and thread. Maybe they won't have 74 colors, but they'll have, you know, so we've been trying to look into those, you know, like, because I think that even above and beyond the cost, it's the burden of, and now I have to go find this stuff, you know,
Exactly.
which I foresee being a real problem for some of our parents, and especially some of the things we do where the supplies are fairly esoteric and not, you know, so
Yeah.
but we don't think it affects the price because we're not really calling it part of the value, you know. The value is, one of our parents called us and said, look, if you guys don't have camp, I'm bringing my kid to your house and dropping him off. There's no way. You know, the value we provide is less about, you know, what we give the kids and what we do for the kids, you know. So and I think it's important to be able to express where the value of what your offerings are, and you know, this is what you pay us for, and this is why you value us, and this is why you pay us and not someone else. It's because what we provide is, you know, and it's not, at least for us, about the stuff, you know. And unlike I guess Eden, you know, recipes for us are not a thing that we consider valuable. You can go online and get 700 recipes for anything you want, you know. Walking you through the recipe is where the value is, you know. It's the technique that the value is, you know. It's the knife skills where the values are, you know, the things that you learn, you know, from that interaction, as opposed to, well, you could read a recipe, sure, and you could go try to make some bread and you might end up with God knows what coming out of the oven, you know. And it's the skill that you get from somebody looking at what you're doing and advising you where you're at, that's where the value is, as far as we're concerned, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. You know, the hard part is so much of our value comes in the interaction with the animals. I mean, of course, our biggest value is that the therapists are running the camp activities, and so they're essentially getting therapy all along the way. But for sure, you know, unless I tell everyone, okay, everyone go get a pig and a goat.
I wonder how much you could get value out of that, you know, like Zoom with a pig.
Yes, I've thought of that, and I've also thought, you know, I'm going to implement things like I'm going to have them write letters to the animals to practice their fine motor, you know, skills and things, and then I can take a video of me reading the letter to the animals and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to be creative, see what I can pull together.
At the zoo here, we have a manatee who paints, so maybe you can get your pigs to write letters to the kids.
Oh, that's a great idea. That is a great idea.
You know, I think a lot of parents are going to, if we have to stay with the social distancing and none of this can happen live, there will be parents who have to hire a nanny, or grandparents are going to come and help, or, you know, something that might not be the parent themselves implementing these virtual events or activities. And they will still find value in that, because grandma and grandpa don't necessarily know what in the world to do. And in your case, I mean, maybe they have you know, an assistant that they already know in their community that they're going to hire, but to have some sort of a pre-designed activity that they can do, and that gives, you know, whatever, the babysitter or the nanny some time to say, here's what they're going to do. So did somebody else have something to say about content? Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
Well, I mean, I share the idea of you just can't give them the same, like all our kids get to fly in an airplane. That's
Right.
just not going to happen, you know.
Yeah.
At our robotics camp, every kid has a $500 robotics kit and a computer, and they're learning programming. They aren't going to have those things at home. So, but one, I don't know if it would work for you, but one idea, I know I've seen people taking animals to like nursing homes where they would normally have pet therapy, and I understand that that's not happening, but they're just showing them outside of the windows on the outside of the place. And I didn't know if you have a setup where in a some sort of outdoor arena, pen, whatever, there would be times of the day that they could come and visit one-on-one if they had a provider that could bring them to interact with a particular animal. Maybe one day's pig day and one day's, I understand with, they're going to have something, but maybe you can offer it in a different way.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
All right. So I believe we've come to Abigail, who
I'm just going to break in real fast because I have another commitment. I'm going to have to leave you guys, but I will communicate with email to you so we can look at what we've done, if that's helpful. And I'll give you my email as well. If anybody has questions, feel free to reach out.
Awesome.
Nice talking to you all.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to meet you.
Absolutely.
And,
thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Right.
I'm so sorry, Abigail. I really want to hear from you too, but I also have another meeting.
No problem.
It's late. But thank you so much. Everybody's idea was wonderful. Like, I feel like I have, like I got a lot of good thoughts for what I'm going to be creating. And then the only thing that I wanted to continue talking, or maybe I can email you directly, is about how Rocks Camp can help us to promote the online camping, the camps. Like, how is that going to work, and how can we work together to start promoting? Because I know everybody's having trouble getting enrollments with the situation. So maybe we can talk about that over email.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Okay. All right. Bye, Louisa. All right.
All right. I'll try to be quick because I know, like other people have alluded, it's kind of an overlapping thing for some things. So my name is Abigail Walsh. I'm the interim director for continuing ed at Bellarmine University in Louisville, Kentucky. So I'm running our continuing education department, which functions for professional development, enrichment courses, youth camps, and then we have a lifelong learning society. So I oversee those 4 areas. We had great plans to have about 66 camps on campus this summer, projected about 900 kids enrolled. We are pivoting like everybody, and we're looking at about 40 camp offerings. Our university has made the decision we will not be having anything on campus through the end of July. So we're moving forward with the virtual ideas. I would say I am a little bit further ahead in the planning stages than some of you all, still trying to figure it out, just because our registration was supposed to launch April 1st, and we put that off until May 1st so we would have a better idea of what we were going to be doing. I was supposed to launch today, and 2 days ago decided I wasn't quite ready, so we're hoping for next Friday everything will be ironed out. In our situation, we're working with probably about 20 different camp instructors who come up with their own ideas, present them to us, and then put the camps together. We do all the administrative side, but the instructor is fully in charge of their content and their kind of their schedule for the week. So it's been a lot of back and forth since we made this decision and getting all of their pieces together. To some other people's points about the platforms, we're going to be using Microsoft Teams, which functions similar to Google Classroom. When we were thinking about our audience, we felt like it was going to be easier to have them in a centralized location versus sending back and forth Zoom links. So the kids, in theory, will be able to download Microsoft Teams onto whatever device they're using, kind of like Zoom. They'll go on, and if they're in 5 different camps, they'll have a different team for each camp listed. And then within their team, the instructors will be able to post documents and There's a running chat that kind of saves, and then they'll also be able to start their meetings. So we have, it's kind of on a case-by-case basis. We have camps that are test preps and study skills. We have tech camps. We have creative arts camps. And then we have recreation and leisure camps. So kind of a wide range of things. Different instructors are doing different things as far as time. Most of our camps were half days, either 9 to noon or 1 to 4. A lot of them are cutting down to an hour and a half or 2 hours just because they don't feel like they can keep people engaged for the full 3 hours. So we are reducing pricing, but only because of that time change, not because of it being offered online. We felt when we did, when I talked with my supervisor, and we just kind of felt like because the instructors were planning to give the same content, we didn't need to discount just because it was going to be online. The only reason we're changing prices is because of the timing change. Like other people, we are going to do kits where people can come pick up the kit, or we will do deliveries for kits. We have some additional staff that we can be able to use for deliveries if we need to. And I was going to point this out a minute ago to Jillian's point. Our fees are set up so like if a camp costs, let's say $129, we have a plus $30 materials fee. So that way, if they do get a discount or different things like that, it doesn't take off that price from the materials, since we're not technically getting a discount on the materials. So we kind of separate it out like that just so we don't take a hit on whatever materials they may need. We're having the same problems as others with supplies and things like that. So we're planning to order supplies and as soon as we can, and then we'll deal with extra supplies when we get to that point if we have extras, because we're going to be ordering coding kits, we're going to be ordering art supplies, we're going to be ordering copper tape and different things, all kinds of different stuff. So we're going to either just put them together in little boxes or Ziploc bags and then have them come pick up, or whatever we need to do to be able to help that, help facilitate that. So that's kind of where we're at, but it's been very interesting to hear what other people are doing and, you know, work through that process some, and it has given some good ideas. So.
Awesome. Very good. You know, it's funny, your approach, or what you were talking about, that your different camp leaders kind of create their own curriculum, is exactly kind of the thing that I've thought about in terms of your kind of camp, that even the virtual, I mean, it really doesn't change. I mean, it changes the content from the standpoint that it's delivered differently,
Right.
But having the different camp leaders design their own stuff still, and it is a new challenge, but it kind of makes them tap into some different creative.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people who've totally reinvented what they were originally planning to do. And we had one camp that was supposed to be a week-long camp that he's actually now divided it out into day camps. So you can just sign up for one day based on the activity versus the entire week. It was just going to work better based on the materials needed. So it was a forensics camp. And so now he's doing a day. So there's a fingerprinting day. There's like a molds day, blood typing, things like that. That's a whole separate day. So you can sign up per day versus having to sign up for the whole week, which I think is, which is really nice for some of our camp options.
Well, you might be able to maximize some fees on that, because it may be
Yes.
more expensive to just sign up for one and then have them combine them all together for a lower price.
Definitely.
Yeah, awesome. I think we went through everybody. Let me see here. I'm checking to see what the questions people had. I think we've covered what everybody had sent me anyway. I wanted to just share some of my thoughts, not that I'm a camp leader, but just sort of some of the things that, not really Stu McLaren's information, but kind of like what I've done over the last few years, and how I think that this the idea of virtual camps changes and is in some aspects kind of exciting and may even be elements of things for some of you that might stick around in years in the future, even when it's not required, but some cool things that you might do. One thing that Stu talks about a lot is that less is more, and that it sounds like some of you are already doing that, where you're condensing down what you normally would do in 3 hours and you're just doing an hour and a half, and giving people, he says, giving people time to breathe. That there's an element or part of what you do when you're live that is kind of more just the interactions, kind of not exactly doing the project, but just being in a community. And that when you're putting together something live, that it really can't be that same intensity in a 3-hour thing and an hour and a half thing. And so just sort of that permission that you're doing a little bit less than what you do live. I think that I'm curious to know, actually, how many of you are, like Abigail said, planning to have different elements that are shorter, smaller things that, maybe just, I think, Lisa, you're doing that kind of thing where it's just a project that's not necessarily they're buying an entire week of camp per se, but they're buying a smaller unit and they could put multiple units together. Is that stuff that you're planning or think would fit for your need?
I've actually considered, like, aviation summer camp is typically a 5-day day camp, but I have considered doing the online content 1 day a week for like 5 weeks so that we have time to get the content. Like if we're going to go and crawl in an airplane and show them different airplanes or different flights, there's going to need to be some time to produce the content. So I've thought about spreading it out instead of doing it all in 1 week.
Yeah, okay.
We did a short survey just of some of my colleagues, just to ask what their opinions were. Would you sign your kid up, and would you be more interested in having them kind of invested for a full week or just like 1 day here and there? And a lot of them had an overwhelming response that they would be more interested in just being able to sign them up for 1 day versus having to try to engage them for a whole week. Because, things pop up where a parent's had a really stressful week and they just need them to have something to do that next day or something like that, versus if for some reason they wouldn't like the camp or it's not working well virtually, for them to kind of be invested for that whole week.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that option until you mentioned it, Abigail, when you were introducing yourself. And I think that is such a good idea. And especially if some of the content is pre-recorded, it could be something where like any day a parent could contact you and say, I'd like to purchase this activity or whatever, and you could do it last minute. And I think that is a really good idea, because as much as parents want the activities for their kids, I also think to do it every day may be a burden on some of them, just the same way as they feel about school right now.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, this is from a survey of parents that I did a long time ago. And actually, this is a question that I ask on pretty much all of my parent surveys, is how many weeks, on average, how many weeks do they register their child for camp? And when I first started Camps Rock, I was thinking of myself. My own situation was we both worked full time and I needed essentially daycare for the summer. I needed something for my kids to do during work hours every day of the week. And so I just thought all parents were like that. And I was shocked when, I don't remember what the percentage, and I'll have to go look it up, but it was an overwhelming number of people who only have their kids in 1 or 2 camps all summer. And so they're using it a lot differently than what I was using it for. And it's more of just either it's a topic that their kid is really interested in, or again, it's just that kind of, I need a break, or I know that by, mid-June, my kids are going to be bouncing off the walls, or that kind of thing. And I do think that if that's the case, if we're talking about parents who just really want something fun for their kids to do, then having it be an entire, you know, week long of activities isn't really all that important to those parents. I mean, just having something for their kids to do on occasion is just as good. So, anybody else about that kind of thing? The other thing I wondered about is anybody looking at kind of marketing this to kids that are not in your normal area, right? So you're thinking your city and the kids that normally would attend. Have you been thinking about how this might, because, you know, if we're talking about virtual, you can really sell this to anyone in the nation or anyone in the world. Now, I realize that if you have materials that have to be to that person, you know, we either have to ship it or you have to, you know, have something that they can get in their own community, buy at their own store or order online or whatever. But really for what you're preparing, it can be used by anybody, anywhere. So are you all thinking that way? Have you started thinking that way? Or Lisa is saying yes. Go ahead, Lisa. You're muted.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that that's one of the blessings that would come out of this, is that we're able to expand globally, you know, that we could go outside of our neighborhood. I mean, we typically, our camps have been within Miami County, but we've had some come up from Montgomery County, Greene County, Clark County, and I mean surrounding counties. But the challenge that we have then is just making sure that we can get the materials to the kids, and just, I think what I want to do now, I'm inspired after this call, is to kind of go back and look at my camps and refigure how I can kind of minimize supplies and use what's more on hand, with the exception of certain things, because we, like, especially with the higher end classes, we do have higher end product or higher end materials that they use. But I'm kind of excited about the opportunity of looking beyond a tri-county area and expanding this and marketing. But that's going to be yet another challenge, is getting beyond our comfort zone of marketing just to the tri-county area. So.
And I think, Lisa, you and I had emailed a while ago about that whole issue of getting materials to them. And, you know, you can buy a box from the United Postal Service that is a flat rate fee, and as long as your materials would fit in that box, it's $8.30. So you charge for the materials and the shipping, and then you really can, you know, send your kit anywhere, especially, I mean, anywhere in the continental states.
So one other thing I wanted to add was I usually have a camp assistant with me that's an intern for the summer, and it's from a local high school or art program that helps me. But my son was all set to help me be my intern this year because he was looking for a summer job, and he's helped me before in years past. And what I'm excited about having him do if we go virtually is not so much teaching the classes with me, but helping me put those kits together. So I have someone who's actually there that, you know, we can do a production assembly line, you know, that we can get those done in the studio. So just throwing that out there. So.
Yeah, good. Anne, yeah, go ahead.
Just going to say ours is a group thing and it's a recruiting thing. So we would probably not. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. In your situation, your long-term vision is to keep it within your normal wheelhouse, and to add other kids in other locations doesn't really make sense for your long-term vision. Right. Yeah. Right. But I think too, from a, I had emailed Anne with you about, you know, there's a certain element of this right now that is, I need to make sure that I can put food on my table. I mean, sometimes literally, you know, how do I save my business, or how do I make sure that I can continue to pay my employees or whatever. And so maybe sometimes there is a little bit of thinking outside of what you might normally do in the interest of basically bringing in income. When you think about, and I'm not suggesting that this is for you, Anne, necessarily, but if there is some element of something that you can sell that's maybe even just a half a day type of thing, and somebody would buy that, and you have an audience of the entire nation, and it's $10, or it's, whatever it is that you might be selling. I mean, it totally changes because of the volume that you might be able to do. It totally changes what your income might be. And kind of one of the things that I wrote down about just virtual in general is I think it requires not only thinking out of the box, but possibly throwing the box totally away just for this year. That, there really sort of are not rules about this. You're no longer limited by the space that you have. You're no longer limited by the time that you can offer. I mean, if somebody needs something that is not at that time of the day, but you have something pre-recorded that they can use, then you're satisfying a need that they have in a totally different way than what you're used to doing. So it's such a weird thing to have to think about, like, how could I do this completely and totally differently than what I'm used to doing, and help my customers, and maybe help customers that I don't even know, and still, bring in income, basically. So
back to the suggestion about, like, are people planning to take it more globally? Something else that we've thought about that we're going to be using is our alumni base. And, for a lot of you will have lists of your past campers that we're going to be doing, if they aren't regional, if you have taken a camp in the past and you recruit somebody, like a referral discount. So that may be something else for people to think about. If your kid lives in whatever city you're in, but somebody in another city that you can bring along with you, maybe that kid gets 15% off or something like that. So we're going to be offering that discount this summer, also trying to engage some of our alumni who actually attended the university and get their kids involved, even if they.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Let's see. Okay, I think I've covered everything I was thinking of. I'm going to follow up with, this has been recorded, and so I'm going to be posting it. And also I have a lot of other people who were interested in being here. I am going to schedule more meetings for next week. Let's see. So another idea that I know what I wanted to mention. Duh. Camps rock. That's what I do. We added this virtual feature, which our developer is fixing one little thing about it that I didn't like how it was working, but it's a way for parents to be able to search for virtual camps, any kind of online, you're welcome. And so how it works, just so you know, kind of behind code-wise how it works, is a parent will still enter their zip code. But then when they browse virtual camps, it brings up anything. It'll start with their area and then go in, increasing circles out to basically the world. So they'll see anything that is local to them first, and then going out and out, to the whole nation or world, really. And then they still browse exactly the same way they do normally, which is they can put in, the subject matter that they're interested in. They can select the age ranges and all of that. So they can search by all of those regular criteria and click on virtual. And so from that standpoint, that's kind of where I was asking the question about, have you thought about going out beyond your local area? Because if you do list in the virtual camps, you will automatically be seen by people outside of your local area. And I'm hoping that will be very exciting for you. I don't know how that impacts you if you do not want your camp to be seen by people outside your area. because I won't have a way to limit that. They're automatically going to be seeing an unlimited distance. So, but
And
hopefully, yeah.
for me, I'd be fine if people outside the area saw it. If it's virtual, they can do it, and that helps. Definitely helps advertise. I wondered if you could speak to what you're seeing on Camps Rock as far as our parents. How is the registrations across the board comparing to normal? Is it picking up that parents are looking for things now? Are we, for us, we've never turned it into a virtual camp, so we're gonna need some time to do that. I know Abigail's kind of ahead of the curve of most of us on that. So how far behind are we? And just how could you speak to maybe what you're seeing from your app from that end of things?
Yeah, so much like you all, I haven't done a lot of in the way of launching this to parents yet, mostly because I don't have a lot of virtual camps listed there yet. Lisa has listed some. I've got, I would have to go out and see, but at the moment I have around 20 to 30 camps that are listed that are virtual. And I know that part of that problem is, it's all a chicken before the egg kind of problem, because you all have to have enough, you have to know enough about your curriculum and how much you're going to charge for it and how is it going to work to be able to put it on Camps Rock. And so for me to get it out to parents, there's kind of that, like I said, chicken before the egg problem. My plan is this weekend is really going to start being my push. I just sort of let parents chill. Normally I would be promoting tons in March and April. And when this all started happening, it was just like, I just knew parents with online learning with their children trying to get through school, just basically like live. They just were not ready to even think about this. Not to mention they really, just like you, they don't know what's going to happen this summer. Are they even going to be able to send their kids to a camp, or are they personally even going to feel comfortable sending their kids to a live camp? So my plan is starting today's May 1st. Today was slammed with, I have more going on later today, but tomorrow, Saturdays are actually great days for me and getting in touch with parents. But this whole month is going to be just massive outreach to parents. So as far as as soon as you can get anything into Camps Rock, it will start going out, and the faster you get it in, like I said, it's going to show parents what's local to them and then expanding out. So the faster you're in there, the more you're going to be seen by people outside of your city, if that makes sense. So that's where I am. I mean, like I said, I just kind of let parents chill out. I didn't feel like anybody was ready to make any of these kinds of decisions. So I don't think where I understand where you all probably by this time have, like most of you said, 80% of your seats are full. I do think people are going to be making last minute decisions, and, I don't think you're too late. I think it's actually early, as a matter of fact, my feeling. Yeah, Lisa.
So I just wanted to say, for our camps, we typically see upwards to 175 to 200 kids throughout the entire summer. A lot of those are duplicates in a lot of camps. But I've only now heard from maybe 5 parents asking what's up with summer. So I think you're right. It's like parents, they're getting closer. As we get a little closer to June, they're going to start asking the question more. But I think they're all just kind of trying, just same boat that we are. Like, what's next? What's happening next? So I personally am living to the May 12th deadline. What is the governor going to announce on May 12th? Are we going to have another spike? Are we going to be fine? Are we, we just don't know. So we're taking it a little bit at a time. So, but I feel like I need to be ready May 12th. That's my personal deadline for these camps and this information, because whatever happens, I want to be able to hit the ground running in my promotion, whether it's social media, whether it's an email, whether it's talking face to face with parents, or, you know, virtually. But I got to be ready by May 12th. absolutely. So
Yeah. And where are you located?
Dayton.
Okay.
Hi.
I can't believe how helpful this has been. I mean, especially with the variety, with cooking and choral and the farm and art and aviation. I mean, none of us are the same kind of camps, but I've just appreciated you doing it, and just the help and assistance you can offer us all in advertising. So really, thanks so much for bringing this together.
Thank you. You're welcome. And I absolutely love hearing from everybody. You know, it's really hard. It's weird in my business. I don't get to know anybody. You all get to know the parents and the kids and everything. And so it's great to get feedback from everyone, and all of your lovely emails. I really appreciate it. Sometimes I'm here at home in my home office, and I think, like, I don't know if anybody is, whatever whatever people are thinking. So it's really great to hear from people. So thank you. So, all right, well, I think we're good. I'm gonna, like I said, I'll post this on our website. I'll put together an email. We'll probably have at least 2 more next week. I'm kind of toying with the idea of maybe making kind of a weekly mastermind. And so I'll also put that in, my email to you guys. Just thinking, I mean, there's other groups that I'm a part of where we've had that kind of posse meeting that we've done weekly, and it's really great and kind of cool to get to know the same people more and more. So kind of toying with that idea. Maybe you guys can give me feedback on whether you like that, get together more frequently kind of thing. So, all right. Well, thank you for hanging out for so long. I know this is a long one, but thank you. Me too. All right. And we will talk with you soon. Thank you.